After the monumental win against Boston in the last series, the Yankees had the difficult challenge of taking on the best team in Major League Baseball record-wise. But to be the best, you have to beat the best, and the Yankees win this series on the back of Jazz Chisholm Jr. What's going on, guys? It's the King of 161st Street. I'm back with another video, and I'm going to take a bit of a victory lap here. I have been calling for Jazz Chisholm to be a New York Yankee for 2 years. You can go back and you can look at all the archives, but last year and this year, I've been calling for Jazz Chisholm to be a Yankee. This year, the rumors started to ramp up, and finally, Jazz Chisholm is here, and he has provided a spark I don't think we could have gotten anywhere else. It seems like he came in and immediately clicked with this team. You see guys like Volpe, Verdugo, Aaron Judge, all of them really looking like they have Jazz Chisholm's back. You know when a guy like Jazz shows up into a locker room and is immediately accepted, that there is great leadership in that locker room. So this is a lot to do with Aaron Judge. I have to appreciate that. Never mind what Jazz is doing on the offensive end. Defensively, in this Philly series, Aaron Boone asked him to play a position he has not played in his 9-year professional career, if you include the minor league. Never once played third base, and he looks like a fucking natural. He's cutting balls off down the line. He made a huge play today that would have scored a run and probably would have lost us this game, but he stopped that ball and he was able to get it over to first base. And a lot of that seems to be because Jazz is willing to play wherever you tell him to play. Second base, I got you. Center field, okay. Third base, you bet. Anywhere you put him on this field, he just wants to play baseball. And that's a mindset I think a lot more players should take on, especially guys on this team, aka Gleyber Torres. Let's talk about him offensively, because I have not seen a swing as smooth as this since Robinson Cano. Jazz has that simple swing that's very level. It almost looks like he's not putting in much effort. You know he's putting in a lot of effort into these swings because he hit 4 home runs in this series already. We're only 2 games in. The third game is not happening for another few minutes. What helps him make contact is the fact that, just like Soto, he keeps his swing path so level. He doesn't have any bit of an uppercut, and that allows him to get to pitches you don't see other guys getting to. And then on the base path, he's a ground ball hitter. At times he can get into a ground ball happy system. The craziest stat I heard this week is that Jazz Chisholm this year has not hit into 1 double play, and that came in handy multiple times in this series. Productive outs that get either the runner over or drives in runs. In the game on Tuesday night, he was responsible for 5 runs directly. He had 5 RBIs with those 2 home runs. One of those RBIs came in the top of the first when we had bases loaded, no outs. Austin Wells strikes out. Jazz Chisholm hits a ground ball towards first base. Bryce Harper rushes and he throws it to second. They're not able to swing the double play. We at least get a run. How many times this year have we been in a situation where we've had second and third no outs, bases loaded no out, and came away with nothing because of a double play? This is where things get interesting, because right now they have Jazz in the middle of the order. A lot of people thought coming over that he would have slotted immediately into that leadoff spot. It helps that Alex Verdugo has had a good run of it late. Right now, the way Jazz is able to drive in runs in opportune time, you might want to keep him at the bottom of that part of the order, in that 5 hole, because being able to drive in the runs that maybe Wells can't do, because the 4 hole has been absolute dog shit. When they screw up, you at least have backup behind him. Jazz in this series has been absolutely electric. Now, will he hit 2 home runs a game for the rest of the season? No. Will he hit some rough patches? Yes. He is showing right now that he is ready for the Bronx. He is ready for the bright lights. And it seems like the clubhouse likes him. It seems like the fans are adoring him now. He has been one of the best seamless fits I've seen in a number of years. It's taken him the shortest amount of time I've ever seen to actually get embraced by the fans. Maybe Juan Soto is up there because everyone knew his talent, so he was embraced day one. Jazz wasn't a day one guy, but out of guys who weren't adored outside of the organization, he's definitely found a way to ingrain himself into the Yankee fandom. Jazz is not the only guy in this series to actually produce, as we have our captain, the MVP of this game, and the best baseball player in the world, Aaron Judge. 2 home runs with Jazz in game 1. Aaron Judge is the pinnacle of consistency. I don't know if there's any more ways to describe him. The fact that he keeps improving. He's in his 30s now, and he's still improving. He is not chasing the outside slider as much as he used to a couple years ago. He's hitting the breaking ball for power. And then when he does eventually get fooled by a slider, instead of staying upright and just going down, he's reaching for it, getting it off the end of the bat, knowing he has enough power that if it's off the end of the bat, he'll just loop it into the outfield. Aaron Judge is like a robot. No matter what he does, it always ends up being a good result. And you've seen that in multiple occasions here. I know that Jazz's performance in this series is going to overshadow the series that Aaron Judge had. But Aaron Judge has put himself into a conversation that I don't think many people thought was possible post-steroid era. He has officially, with the 2 home runs he had in the first game, became the 8th player in MLB history to have a career OPS of 1,000. His on-base plus slugging percentage for his entire career is 1,000. That is fucking sick. To average that over a career is insane. Aaron Judge has only had about a 7 to 8 year career at this point. But even then, the fact that he could get into the Hall of Fame with less than 2,500 hits because he'll have 450, 500 home runs probably. Fucking insane. I just want to appreciate the captain any chance I get because the captain deserves every bit of it. Now to the pitching side. Luis Gil starts game 1 of this series and he looks good for most of it. He had a total of 1.5 bad innings, I'll call it. In the bottom of the 3rd, with a 3-0 lead, Luis Gil gives up 2 less than 70-mile-an-hour singles, gives up a walk, and then a ground ball to Jazz, which Jazz plays very well, going to second base. And then Gleyber has to double clutch to go to first. And once he does that, you knew he was going to be safe. Run scores. There is a question about whether Kyle Schwarber did slide out of the baseline and interfere with Gleyber. Gleyber Torres in this series was god-awful in the field. He had one redeeming play in the bottom of the 9th in game 2 where DJ LeMahieu bobbles that ball, pops up in the air, Gleyber's right behind him, gets the ball, gets it to Clay Holmes, and that forces extra innings for us to be able to win. Too many times he bobbled the ball, he missed a double play opportunity. It's just a horrible look. After the comments he had after the Boston game, when they asked him, would you be willing to play third base? And he goes, I'm a second baseman. That's my position. At that point, you have to perform at second base because you're saying that's the only spot that you'll play good at. Well, you're not even playing at a good level at that second base spot. You have the most errors in the major leagues at that position. So maybe it is time for a change. Well, now there is no time for change because Jazz Chisholm has taken over that third base spot. And to me, I think he should be primary third baseman every day. DJ LeMahieu should not get any playing time over Jazz. Back to the original point. He gives up a run there. He ends up giving up 2 more runs. But overall, this was a great game for Luis Gil, giving us 5 1/3, 3 runs, 5 hits, 8 strikeouts, 3 walks. This was another great performance in a Rookie of the Year campaign that I don't think will be beat at all. He's the runaway favorite for the AL Rookie of the Year, as he should be. Now we go to game 2, and this is where things get interesting. Garrick Cole scheduled to start hours before the game. News comes out that Garrick Cole was scratched from his start due to general body fatigue. I truly think the PR department or whoever put out that statement did a very big injustice to Garrick Cole by saying that, because you're seeing classic New Yorkers looking at that statement going, are you fucking kidding me? I deal with general soreness every fucking day. But it seems as though he was sick during his recovery from his last start, and he was not able to properly recover in time for this game. So he will be pitching over the weekend. But that means we need a starter. And in comes Will Warren from the minor leagues for his first ever start in the major league. Comes in, he has nasty stuff. Let's just say that. He has a lot of break on his pitches. His fastball has movement. The real problem with him is he is wild. And he is not Luis Gil wild, where at times he can be conveniently wild. Will Warren will lose the strike zone fast. And then when he loses the strike zone fast, he will autocorrect all the way back to where he's putting it right down the middle. That's exactly what happened on the Austin Hayes home run. He's trying to overcorrect on certain fastballs that he threw. So now against a righty, he decides to throw a two-seam fastball that starts on the outside corner and tails back to the middle. You cannot do that against a power-hitting righty. Austin Hayes does what a major league hitter should do with a pitch like that. He puts that into the seats. After that moment though, Will Warren actually started to compete. Ended up striking out the side in his last full inning. Did not give up a run after that. Did not really give up much traffic after that. He seemed to really settle in. I'm not going to fully judge him based off of this start. Yes, he was wild in this start at times. He overcorrected at times. But this is also the journey of a rookie. He's trying to figure out what's the Goldilocks thing. It's too hot. It's too cold. He needs to find that middle ground. And I believe if we ever have to use him again, he will adjust and have that middle ground, because he ended up finding it later on in this game. So I have to give props to Will Warren, because early on it seemed like it was going to be a short night, especially after that Hayes home run. But he ended up going pretty deep into this game. Will Warren goes the same amount of length that Luis Gil gave us, 5 1/3, 4 runs, 6 strikeouts, 2 walks. The walks don't do the wildness justice from the beginning, but overall, I am somewhat impressed with Will Warren. He gets sent down immediately after this game. That tends to make me believe that this is a one-time thing for Garrick Cole, and that's the big concern. Because Garrick Cole, no matter what he's done this season, because this season, since he's come back, has been very up and down. Started off slow, came back to form, then the Mets shelled him again. It hasn't been the most consistent year, but he is still the ace of this rotation. We need him to be healthy if we want to make a run. So I am very glad to see Will Warren does get sent back down, because that means that Garrick Cole will not be going on the injured list, which is the main concern. Now, here comes the bad. The second game in the series, yesterday's game, Clay Holmes proved to the Yankees why they needed to be all in on a closer. Now, I'll give you my thoughts on their trade deadline in another video. The fans have been asking, give us a guy who can strike hitters out. We can't have a guy who's reliant on putting the ball in play to try and save games for us. The Yankees went out and they got a reliever, Mark Leiter Jr., and at the buzzer, they get De Los Santos from the Padres. Both guys are strikeout pitchers, so I'll give you that, but they're also lower leverage guys. They are not guys who are going to close, which leads a lot of people to believe Clay Holmes will stay as the closer. The problem with Clay Holmes staying as the closer is what I brought up in the last time I talked about Clay Holmes. Usually a closer has something you fear or has amazing control. Clay Holmes does not have any pitch that you fully fear. His sinker does have depth, and when he's on with that sinker, it could be classified as that pitch. But that pitch is not consistent enough for you to say hitters are immediately scared of that pitch. With the control, the whole reason this game was tied at the end to bring it to extras was because he shanked a slider. He does this often. He's not a guy who controls his pitches at an elite level. That's a very bad combination if you want a guy to close for you. Maybe a guy like Mark Leiter, who in his inning of work did really well. The only thing I'd tell him is do not jump for a chopper ever again. That almost costed us the game. But other than that, his pitches were sharp. He was at times losing control of his pitch, but his breaking ball looks very sharp. He has a good fastball. Maybe Mark Leiter becomes that guy at the back end. Maybe De Los Santos sort of hits into a second gear that he hasn't hit in his career. Maybe he takes it over. But that's not very likely. And the real problem here is, do any of you trust Clay Holmes in the playoffs in the 9th inning, up 1. I'm going to assume 80% of you said no. That could be a huge problem. And unless a guy like Michael Tonkin or Luke Weaver or Jake Cousins, someone like that steps up big time and takes over, we will be dealing with this for the foreseeable future. Of course, he didn't cost us this game. Overall, he has not had the worst year, but you want someone a little more consistent to be in that role. Anyways, guys, what did you guys think about this series? Is Jazz Chisholm automatically your favorite player? Let me know down below. I will be doing a trade deadline recap at some point either today or tomorrow. Enjoy the game. I'm out of here. Take care and peace.